Hi, my name is Qureshi, and today I will be discussing with you Oracle Process Automation component called File Manager. File Manager is one of the many components that are available as part of Process Automation Web UI. This component can be used and it allows our end users to upload one or more documents using a process form to an external system. Every day, as part of a process automation, we see requirements that you need to upload documents. And in some cases, you want to upload these documents to a third-party system. This third-party system can be your own document store, object storage, or anything else. So you can utilize File Manager for this purpose. A File Manager component, as part of the key capabilities, has got two controls. One is file upload, and the other is file list. The file upload control allows users to upload multiple files, and it requires an API to be created where the base64 string of the file content is uploaded via the post API call. This API can be developed using Oracle Integration Cloud or any third-party system. The file list control allows users to see the list of documents that have been uploaded to this external component. You can not only list the documents, you can download the documents as well as you can delete the documents. All these actions would require you to build an API. There are certain restrictions there as well, but as always, when I talk about restrictions, please refer to the documentations because these things keep changing. As the time of recording, the file upload control is part of the file manager control. You cannot add it separately, so it needs to be used as part of the file manager component. The binary file upload is not supported, so it supports you need to upload either PDFs or images. The maximum aggregate size of the files is 2 MB that it supports today. And you can upload up to 5 files simultaneously. When you are uploading multiple files simultaneously, your backend API needs to support getting multiple files as well. In today's demo, we will focus on this file component, how you can upload, list, delete, and download files. I will be using OCI Object Store as the document control system. And I will be building, or I'll be showing you integrations which have been built in Oracle Integration Cloud. Let's proceed. This is Oracle Process Automation Designer. Let me click on Create. Let me create a new process application. I will call it HQ File Manager Demo. When you create a new process in application in OPA, you see that there are various different options available. You can create processes, structured or dynamic. You can create UIs. You can create decision trees, connectors, types, and roles. For our purpose, we will be creating a UI and a simple process. And for connecting to our integrations, we will be using the connectors. Let's start with the UI. Let me create a web form. And this would be my sample web form. Create. And in this sample web form, you can see on the right-hand side, there are various different components. Basic, you can have input text, advanced, and in advanced, there is the file manager. Let me drag and drop. As you can see, when you drag and drop the file manager, it has got different things. File manager, where it gives you a control to upload files and list. It's showing me these red dots because I have not configured the properties. And for me to configure these properties, I need to first go ahead and set up the APIs. So we will do that shortly. As part of my use case, I need a prefix. So I'll just drop an input box. And let me call this the label prefix, and that's also prefix. Because I am using the object storage as the document store, and different users can upload different documents. So I will be, whatever the document is attached, I will be adding a prefix next to it. Okay. what I want in the prefix. I can add any values, but let's see if I can use a custom or system generated unique ID. So for that, if I go into, let's see, what are the options I have? We have binding, but then there is, no, not here. So I will do an add in an event on load. It gives me the expression builder. So what I want to do is I want to create an action. My control is prefix, value, and it's not a constant value, but I want to use a function. And in the functions, I know there is a function for creating a UUID. So that would be a unique UUID. So let me do that. Okay. Now, if I preview it, you can see that a unique UUID has been stored in the prefix. So I will be using this as a prefix value. So far, so good. Now, I know there are a lot of errors because I have not set up the integration. Let me go into the integration control. Connectors, and I'll be connecting via the REST API. Before I go into, okay, let's do that. Let's call it OIC file manager integration. The base URL is this. Okay. Create. And I also need to, okay. So far I have created a base URL to my OIC integration. I will explain that shortly, but I just want to do the configuration. So I am going to integrate with it using basic auth. We can use OAuth as well. So let me add the values for that. So this is how you configure your authentication. As you saw, there were different options available, basic auth, OAuth, and so on. So I'm using basic auth for this demo purpose. Okay, now let's look at our integration. I've already created and developed my integrations, and I will walk you through step by step, because today the focus is on configuring and setting things up on the OPA side. So I need 4 integrations for, as you know, download, upload, delete, and list files. Let's look at my download file integration. There are a few key components that we need to consider when we are developing. First of all, it is a REST-based API, so I'm using a REST adapter. In my download file, it is a get, because I'm getting the file. I am adding review parameters as well as response. When I am downloading the file, I need to provide the name of the file. So that's my query parameter. And when I'm downloading the file, it needs to be binary and application octet stream. This is very, very important. So whenever you create your integration to download files to connect with OPA, the response type needs to be application octet stream. I need, for download file to work successfully, I need to provide certain values in a custom header called content disposition. So in Oracle Integration Cloud, we can, so if I go previously, as we can configure it to add and review parameters and configure response, we can add custom response headers as well, right? So that's where I have selected that, and I have added the value for content disposition. And that's all. That's my trigger. For getting the files from object storage, I'm using the object storage action. And in this, let's just look for download file. I will not show it for each and every integration, but let's see what we are doing. In the object, we get the option. We are managing objects. There is a selection of operations similar to download, list, delete. In this scenario, I'm using the download object, and I'm selecting the bucket from where I need to download the object. And then it's mapping the values, the file name that I'm receiving as part of the trigger. I am going to map that to the object name. So here in the template parameter, there's the object name, and in my query parameter, I'm passing the file name. And in the response, which is very, very important, there is something specific we need to map for content disposition. Let's look at that. So since it's octet stream, my stream reference, which is coming out of objects response, I just map that directly. But in HTTP headers, in my content disposition, I need to provide values for as attachment, that's a static file name, and I pass the file name, which is the coming as part of the query parameter. This is very important. We need to perform these two tasks for the download file to work successfully. Okay. Now, if I look at its endpoint metadata, so let's look at run endpoint metadata. You can see this is the overall URL. So what I'm going to do, because till object storage, because it's part of the project which is called object storage, I will use that as my key operation. So coming back to Oracle Process Automation, I will add a resource, and my resource name, I'm giving it as object storage, and my base URL is up till the project name, because this is inside the project. So that's my base URL. And now I'm going to add multiple operations. The first operation that I'm adding is download file that we just saw. So let's add that name. We can call it any name. I'm calling it download file. The resource URI for that, from my integration, we took it from object storage, and then the remaining bit, which is download files 1.0 download file, that would become my path, resource path. So let's do that. Okay. We can add some description, like this is to download file. Request, as you can see, I have a query parameter. So I will add the query parameter, which is file name. And all this information is available as part of the documentation over here, right? So I can see download file query parameter is file name. I will use that. Okay. Response, since it's octet stream, I just need to provide a simple. So let me call it download file type. And I don't need to provide any values here. So just simple next, create, and apply. So I've been able to successfully configure the operation get for download file. Similarly, I need to add operations for other requirements. That's like list files. So let's start with that. This is list files. Okay, let's look at the integration. So that was download file. Now I'm back in Oracle Integration Cloud, and I'm looking at list files. List file is again very, very similar. I'm using the object storage action again, and I'm doing the list files. In my trigger, what I'm passing is get, and in review components, I will be passing the prefix, because in my object storage, there can be a lot of files. I just want to extract the files which has got the prefix. And as you saw at the start, I added that prefix in my UI. And the response is a wrapper, which is an itemized array, which has file name, title, and creation date. So these are the three values I'm getting, because with that prefix, I can have multiple files. So I want to list all the files. That's all on my trigger side. And on the mapping, when I'm mapping to the list file object, what I would be passing, I need to pass the prefix, and I need to do some queries, right? So here, In query parameters, there is prefix, and I'm just passing the prefix value. So what it will do, it will get all the files in the object storage bucket that I've configured in this action, and it will be returning all those files which have that prefix attached to it. And in the response, it's a very simple mapping, but I can be receiving multiple. So I would be doing array-based mapping here. So you can see in the response, I have multiple items. From the list objects, I am receiving items. I'm receiving objects. So the object's parent element is mapped to items, and then there is file name, title, and creation date that I have done the mapping. Okay. So now coming back to process automation, I have list files. I can now provide the resource path. Okay, this is to list files from object storage. I have again a query parameter, so that is prefix. Yeah, and in response, I am getting a array-based response, right? So I will be creating a response from a sample. And you can see if I come back to my integration and I go to list file and check the endpoint, here I'm getting the response sample. So I can just copy it from this and use that in my process. So provide the sample. Let's call it list file type. Next, it will create schema automatically. It will create a model, and we have got the list file type set up successfully. So far we have created two operations. One is to download the file. One is to list file. Now we need to move to the next operation, which is upload files. So upload file would be a post. So if I go to my upload file integration, you can see on the trigger side, this time it is a post operation. I am configuring a request payload as well as a response payload. The request payload is important because as part of the upload file, it receives the base64 in a string. So I'm providing the file name and the file data as a base64 and the prefix, which I will be getting from the source. Next, response, I think I'm just providing a success or failure response. So that's just a message for success and failure. That's all for my trigger. Again, in the object storage, I will be using the action. And in this, I'm providing the bucket name and I'm using the upload object where I need to upload this information. Let's look at the mapping between the trigger and the upload object. So the object name, I am doing some concatenation because the file name that is coming out of the one that I'm uploading, I'm adding the prefix to it. So here I'm using the concat operation, which is adding prefix, a dash, and the original file name. And in the stream reference, because the stream reference data is coming as text in file data, I'm decoding it to base64 reference that file data. So this decode base64 to reference is very important when I'm mapping the stream reference. And that's how my integration looks like. Let's check one thing here. Okay. Now, again, I can get all the information from my endpoint metadata. Let's go into the process, add this operation. So this time it would be a post. And this would be upload file. Yeah, this is upload to object storage. My request. Now let's go to upload file, endpoint metadata. Okay, and here is my request sample. So I can come over here, I can say JSON sample. This is my upload file request type. I provide the sample here, and it will create the schema and model, and that's good. Response, again, I have a response over here. That is the success or failure. So I will, again, use the JSON sample wizard, upload file response type. Again, next schema, model, and that's good. So my upload file operation is done as well. The last one is delete. So let's come over here and look at our delete file integration. So in the delete file, in the trigger, I will be just passing the query parameter with the file name that I want to delete. So here the operation is delete, and I'm passing review parameters and response. So as part of the review parameter, I'm using the file name. And response is again, I think, simple message, success or failure. Object storage, I'm using the delete object option. And in the mapping, it's getting the file name from the trigger and mapping it to the template parameter object name. So I can see object name, file name, and that's just the one-to-one mapping. And the response, I'm passing the value, whether it's success or failure. In this case, I'm just mapping the happy path. So I am just giving the message for the file name that has been deleted. Okay. Again, I can look at the metadata. So let's just look at endpoint metadata for this. And query parameter file name and response sample is that. So coming back to our process, let's add a delete operator. This is delete file, and it would be this. This is the delete file from object storage. My request is a parameter, which is file name, and response is that message of success or failure. So delete file response type. So now we have all our 4 operations: download file, list file, upload file, and delete file. So our connector has been set up successfully. Connections are done. Now I am going back to my UI, and let's configure our file manager properties. Okay, so now selecting the file manager, if I click on top left, I see all the properties. Here, first thing, it's asked for the connector. So this is my connector that I have created. And within that connector, which resource? So I have one resource over there, which I called object storage. So that's done. Now there are 2 controls within the connector. One is to upload and one is to list. So when I select upload, it can upload, you can see images in PDF. That's the default. Binding, which operation? So this is upload, so I will be using the upload file operation. It supports multiple upload, but in my integration, it's not supporting. So I'm keeping this checkbox unchecked. As you remember, in my file upload file, there were 3 values: file data, file name, and prefix. So I will be taking them, doing the mapping. So file data is going to come from the file content, base 64 string of the file. File name is again going to come from file content, and this would be the name of the file. The prefix needs to come from there. So that would come from the control value of prefix, right? So this is how I'm passing the values, and my upload file has been configured successfully. Now let's look at list file. In the list file, I have different binding options. So first of all, list. So I will use the list file operation. And one thing you notice, while I have got multiple operations, list file is a get. So the 2 get options are coming over here. So list file is my list one. This one had a query parameter of prefix. So again, I will be taking this from control value prefix. And the response. And in the response is the items which has the array, elements that contain the list of files. So if you remember, I have a set of items, and in this, I'm doing the mapping. File name, I'm getting creation date, and yeah, that's created by, let's put a title. Okay, so items, file name. That's okay. Okay, so that's my mapping of response items. Now I want to enable download file as well. So for download, I have the operation download files. File name is the header parameter. So what I would do, the file that I want to download, I will get the row context, so which is the row that I'm clicking on, and I'm getting the file name of that. In delete, I will be using the operation delete file. And again, for the file name, I will be getting the row context, the file that I click for delete over here, and I will use the file name for that. Okay, yeah. So that's how you do the mapping, right? So you first do the list files, and then you have the option to enable or disable. So if you enable delete file, then that would appear as a link. If you disable, it will not appear as a link. I have the option of a row context to give me the file name of the file that I have clicked. Let's quickly, yeah, that's all of my configuration of the form. So this is how my forms look like. I have this because it's not activated, so that's how it is. Okay, very good. Now let's go and create a very simple process, because I want to test this now. Let's create a structured process. Simple file process. While I can create human activities and I can have workflows, but in this scenario, just for my testing purposes, I just want to keep it very simple. A start and an end. Go to open properties, and I need to connect it to the UI. Sample file. Yeah. That's That's all. I don't think I need to do any data association because all the things I will be getting it from our process. Okay, so this is how you configure your file process. And let me see last thing on the users, because I've created myself, I should be part of the process, or I can assign myself. So I'm just adding myself. I will be good. Last bit, I need to activate this process. It will do a validation. There is a warning. Let's look at the warning. The project description summary is empty. That's okay. We can add that later, but let's go ahead and activate the integration. Okay, the integration has been activated. Let's test it in Workspace. Okay, so here is the project that we just created, HQ File Manager demo. We click on this. You can see the prefix has been uploaded. There are no files to be picked up with this prefix because we have not uploaded anything. So we are seeing a warning message here. So let's click on drag and drop. We can upload one file at a time. So this is calling the upload file API in Oracle Integration Cloud and uploading the files. At the same time, the list file is getting the list file. So let me upload one more. This time, let's pick up a PDF. Okay. Now, if I show you in my buckets and I just refresh, you can see I've got two files uploaded in my bucket. I can delete. So if I click on delete, I'm deleting the PDF file. So that has been successfully deleted. I can go over here and I can refresh my bucket and I can see that PDF file is no longer there. And if I click on this file, that is, I want to download this file gets downloaded. So you can see the file that I just created, uploaded, has been downloaded successfully. That's all successful. Now on the integration front, we can quickly go in to the integration and we can see and observe that multiple requests were made to the integration to download file, delete file, list file, and upload file. You see more requests over here because I have been testing as well. So in today's session, what we learned is how we can set up file manager component in Oracle Process Automation. This is a very powerful tool which allows you to upload files into a third-party component. There are requirements to build an integration, and you can use Oracle Integration Cloud for that purpose. You can upload files, you can list files, you can delete files, and you can download the files as well. In this demo, I used Oracle OCI Object Storage for storing the documents, but it can be anything other than it can be any other third-party system, because at the power of Oracle Integration Cloud, we can integrate with any third-party systems using our rich set of adapters. I hope you learned something today from this session. Thank you.